Hello, everyone. Welcome back to How to Trade in the Switch Markets community. I'm Shane Vernier, and this is Friday. It's No Donation Friday. Today, we're going to talk about retail sales, the Trump-Putin Summit, which is ongoing right now. I believe both are in the air. I think President Trump is supposed to be landing shortly, so we're going to be watching that relatively closely, but we're looking for a peace deal there in Russia-Ukraine. We don't know what exactly is going to happen, but we're interested to see which way this thing goes. Now, as far as what can we do today trading-wise, we can do a lot. Retail sales out during the pre-market hours. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to recap a few trade ideas, live trade ideas that we have going now, and also we're going to start off with a reading of the volatility index. It's important to take a look at this pattern as it happens, because this is a unique pattern that we have on the VIX, and I'm going to show it to you right now. So good to see everybody back. Team Marina, good to see you. Let's see, Zima, good to see you, Zima. No Donation Friday. That's right, Bobby Bob. No Donation Friday. Ralph H., good to see you, Ralph H. That's a good one. No donation. Opened an account with Switch and made my first withdrawal today. No kidding. Congratulations, Bobby. I always like to pay myself. Typically, if I'm having a big week, I'll pay myself on Thursday afternoon. I'll take half of that money out right away if it's a significant amount. I love getting paid by the week. I really do. I think that cash in your hand is a great motivator. It always has been for me. Maybe it's different for you. Maybe you want to build a big account. But fantastic. Good for you, Bobby. It's always good to hear. Let's see. Matthew, good to see you, Matthew. Chris Sharp, good to see you, Chris. Hello. Hello, wherever you may be in this world. Kirsty T, good to see you, Kirsty. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get it going. What we have here is a big-time thing on the volatility index. CBOE Volatility Index. All right, what this is the VIX. Now, anytime the VIX is elevated, that means that risk is up, risk sentiment is up. Anytime that the VIX is down, it means that things are calm. You're seeing the bids hit the market, smooth sailing. Kirkton, good to see you. Kirkton, welcome. Opio Manuel, good to see Opio. I'm telling you that one of the things that we always have to monitor is market sentiment. We have to understand why the market is doing what it's doing, and if in fact the risk sentiment is elevated. Today, the last 3 days, we've got a daily chart here on your MT5 platform. You can see those 3 days, doji, inverted hammer, doji today. Why? Everybody's on the sidelines right now. They're watching this situation very, very closely. This is the key market mover. And really, if you take a look at that VIX chart, you saw the gap up in the VIX really since the exact meeting. Details were announced. There's your daily. Let's take a look at your weekly. Weekly risk is up a little bit. Why? Because you have a major geopolitical event. Let's go to a 1 hour chart. You can see where we're at. Just sort of flatlined above the gap up. I don't know, guys. This is an interesting time to be a trader, interesting time to be alive. So when I'm looking at the news cycle, I immediately am saying, okay, there's got to be an outlier here to get the VIX to jump. It's not that it jumped that far, but we went from a real calm reading to sort of an elevated reading, and this is why right here, high-stakes meeting. Trump and Putin to discuss Russia-Ukraine war in Alaska meeting. Trump's meeting with Putin scheduled. Trump and Putin to meet. I mean, this is the story of the day. It's a historic meeting. A lot of optimism surrounding this one. A lot of folks that believe that perhaps we're going to see this meeting bear some fruit and get the Russia-Ukraine situation sort of rectified. That's optimism. We don't really know just yet if that's going to be the case, but we are sort of certain that something big is going to come out of this, and you can tell just by that VIX reading, by the tight ranges in that VIX. It means nobody knows what to do. It means we don't want to buy, we don't want to sell, we just got to hang tight, and that's exactly what's happening for right now. So good to see everybody. Tina Jing, hi Shane, no donation, but lost a tiny bit, slippage, break, even trade on oil. Oil's been interesting. The oil trade has been vastly influenced by the the Trump-Putin summit. There's no question about it. We're going to talk about that in just a second. We're going to pull an oil chart here. Zima, I need only knowledge. We all need knowledge. I wish I had knowledge. I wish I was sitting in the room with Putin and Trump and actually reading the room and seeing what these guys are thinking. A lot of times you can learn a lot more by just watching somebody than you can what's coming out of their mouth. So I'm always interested in stuff like that. So I wish I had some more knowledge too, Zima. Remember, if you guys are interested in trading any of these trade ideas that we covered today or market analytics, or you're just looking for an out, you head on over to Switch Markets. Bobby Bob did. Good to hear it, Bobby. Glad to hear that you're up and running and getting paid. That's what this is all about. Switch Markets community, remember to get in there. It's bring your ambition into focus with Switch Markets. That's sort of the slogan around here, and it really does speak to what we try to do. We all want to get where we're going, but we've got to figure out how to get there. And with all the tools over there, there's going to be a lot of content hitting the news, not the news wires, but this Switch Markets YouTube channel over the next few months that are going to really outline the service suite. We're going to cover everything from the Algo Builder add-on. We're going to cover everything we've already covered Pine Connector, Algo Builder, all the tools, everything over there that can help you really become a better trader. And so be on the lookout for a lot of videos. We got a short drop in tomorrow that's going to show you how to manage your trailing stop on MT5. So tune tune on into Switch Markets TV and check out that YouTube short. It's going to show you how to work a trailing stop, so that's pretty good. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get it going. Tina, you like that slogan? I like it too. It's not too bad. Not too bad. Bring your ambition into focus. Seems like we all are ambitious. We just got to get focused up and see what we can do. All right, let's start off with a sort of a trade update here, and it's one that is interesting to me. It's the Ethereum trade. We put this one out yesterday, and we're looking really to buy a retracement level, and it looks like it may actually come into play. So let's get on out to price action. Here's the Ethereum, the ETH USD, and I ran a weekly Fibonacci retracement sequence here. Spike low to a spike high, and this pullback zone that's right around 42.50 or so. I really like that for the buy-in, sort of this, I would say, mid-August crypto dip. I like the opportunity potentially of getting that done. So what we need to do, though, is we need to definitely back off and see exactly what's happening on the daily. You can see this one's sort of coming right to us. So back-to-back negative days. We're down there right around 42.35, 42.50-ish, 42.45 to 42.50. I like that bid. You've also got a 13-day EMA coming into view right around 4,200. So I'm interested. I'm excited. I think that we're going to get a shot maybe to take an Ethereum trade over the weekend, although I do recommend maybe, just maybe, take a few days off, especially if you had a big week. It's always good to enjoy your time. And if you had a tough week, maybe just go to the sidelines and get a break. But this is one that I'm going to be looking at over the weekend, especially as we come out of that summit, out of that Trump-Putin summit. So I'm watching Ethereum closely. A lot of you, as always, trade the Euro USD, and we had a lot of dialogue on the Euro USD yesterday, and I really wanted to sort of get started with this because I know a lot of the traders out there really are trading the Euro USD. Look at this 30-minute chart. Now, if you remember yesterday afternoon, I sort of pointed out that this 4-hour chart on our 920 crossover, well, we were sort of waiting potentially to get a cross under, to get something that maybe was going to send us a little bit south and tell us maybe that the long term, maybe the bullish run is over, and we didn't get it. And the fact that we didn't get it really says, well, what do we like? We like this one to the top side or the downside? According to this 920 crossover strategy, you really have to favor the top side. Take a look at the 30-minute chart. The 30-minute chart's really beautiful. I mean, right back there was your buy signal. Your bid right there would have been 116.60. So that would have been your bid right there on our coded 920 EMA, 116.59. You went all the way up, to 117.10, somewhere in there. Nice little move, guys. Nice little, 50-pip move. Not bad at all. I'm still watching this Euro USD closely. I don't think the move up is over just yet. The dollar index is definitely starting to lose some steam. I mean, right now we're trading about 97.8, which means the dollar's down. It's down against those majors. And so when we start to think, would I rather be long or short the Euro USD? Well, according to this 920, we want to be long. Now, from my perspective, let's go ahead and back this off to a daily chart and really take a look at what's been happening. And you can see right here, let's get rid of all those analytics here and see if we can get something a little clearer. Something right here. You see, you had a daily bid that's set up back on the 12th of August, Tuesday, and sort of said go long and then a big retracement, and now we're on the rally. Sort of tough here to decide what we want to do without some sort of strategy. Now, I could pull up Fibonacci's and we can look at weeklies and monthlies and all that's great. There's nothing wrong with any of it, but we have to sort of be a little bit forward thinking and saying, okay, is there really price action for us to react to and trade today out of the Euro USD? I don't really see it. We're trading sort of inside yesterday's candle. That suggests to me sort of a flat market, a tight market. And if that's the case, we're probably either going to have to do two things. We're going to have to wait for a break. We can take a position, as we already talked about there, or we can go to a shorter time frame. So daily chart here really isn't much help to me unless I'm playing this 920 daily, which I like. Right there was your bid. So you're in the green by a little bit of money. Not too bad. Let's go ahead and see what's going on in the 4-hour chart. Interesting. Very, very interesting because you've got a nice big runner right there. I would be looking probably towards this double bottom potentially, and then a pullback. So pullback buys for me, that's the way that I would probably want to make my mistakes today. If in fact, that's sort of the way I look at trading is, when I get in, I say, okay, I'm going to make money. We're going to make money. But if the market goes against me, what gives me the best opportunity to at least take a small loss or a manageable loss? And for me, it's probably going with price action most of the time. And today, we've got a nice big sort of a bullish rally here on the 4-hour chart. Pullback zone right around 116.83. And you also notice we've got that 9 EMA right there at 116.84. I like it. Somewhere maybe right down in there, maybe a pullback to 116.85-ish. That might be a pretty good trade, but things are very, very tight, and they're getting tighter and tighter ahead of the summit. So be very careful if you are, in fact, trading the Euro USD today. Pretty good one. Let me see. Let me see, Zim. I need knowledge. Love the slogan. Stop out on this one, too. Yeah, I mean, this is a challenge. This one, if you got caught being short on the Euro USD, you really could have been in a situation that you just got swept higher. And a lot of that has to do with some of the retail sales numbers that we saw. A lot of it has to do with what we're seeing out of the Fed. There's a lot of scuttlebutt around the next Fed chair. They're all saying they want dramatic rate cuts. So the market really is starting to price in the end of the Powell era at the Fed. And then also you've got sort of a tough retail sales. You had sort of an interesting CPI number earlier this week, and it's all sort of added up to just a slipping dollar. There's not really much. I mean, it's challenged to use technicals to trade that, but it was a big news week, and a lot of folks got chopped up this week. If you're one of them, don't worry about it. We'll talk psychology a little bit towards the end of the stream. That's for sure. Let me see. Trading Musk. I missed your technical analysis a lot. Yellow first. Yeah, well, I mean, we do what we can with the technical analysis, Trading Musk. Good to see you. US 30 and oil. Yeah, everybody wants to see oil. We're going to talk about oil in just a second. But we got I've got two other things that I want to look at first here. The Great Britain Pound, Australian dollar. This is one that a lot of folks are trading. Now here, I sort of have my ear to the rail, to the railroad. It's the old way they would tell the railroad tracks. So when the train was coming, they put their ear to the tracks, and if they could feel it vibrate, and they could know a train was coming from miles and miles away without seeing it or hearing it. Well, I sort of always got my ear to the rail on the Forex. And some of these pairs, there's a few different places you can go online where you see people talking about pairs. And this British pound Australian dollar has been in play. There's been a lot of traders trading it. So if you're one of them, welcome to the club. It's a big one. But right here, this nice 4-hour, you can see on our 4-hour 920 crossover, beautiful buy right there. And it's really been off to the races. So when we're looking at this Great Britain pound Aussie, you still kind of have to like the top side of this market. But if you took shorts, if you took shorts from probably 209 up here somewhere, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's just playing a pullback off of a key number. But the broader market, the broader market is moving higher and has been for some time. Let's take a look at our macro levels and sort of see what we're dealing with here. One of the things that I like to do is always back up and never lose sight of what the market's doing sort of in the macro sense. So right here you can see, and we can just sort of brush aside the 920s for right this minute. But on the weekly time frame, beautiful big week. You're up about 1%. If you were looking to play this to the other way, this is probably how I would design my Fibonacci spike high to sort of a swing low right down there. And that gives us a nice big meaty range, about 2.10 down to 2.04. And you're in a situation where there's a lot of pips to play with in there. So if you were looking maybe for a selling point, this 38% was beautiful right there last week. Bang, went up and hit it. Had a nice retracement right down here before we broke through. Good way to really observe how Fibonacci's work. That when those levels, they are stiff. They're stiff support. They're stiff resistance. But when they get tested a few times, the market gets what I call saturated. That means all those orders get eaten up, and then a market driver comes into play, and next thing you know, the market goes to the moon. And right here, this is exactly what happened. We had just a great tension right there at 206.50, 206.59, compression, break. And then there's the break. So right now, I definitely would probably be looking to the long side of this one. But if I was interested in potentially building a short trade, 78% on the weeklies right up there at 209.06. Pretty good stuff. I would definitely be looking at that as potential resistance. If we wanted to trade right now and potentially place a trade, you go down to your 4-hour chart. And you can see sort of this 62% level didn't really act as very good resistance at all, but the market's going to do one of two things from this zone. It's either going to set up as a swing high here and trade down from this area beneath 62, or it's going to sort of be a launch point to your next Fibonacci. Right now, you sort of have to respect the long side of this market. I would be looking just to wait. If I wasn't in, I'd be looking to wait and sell somewhere right up there around 209 flat. So that's the pound Aussie. Kiwi, this was a pretty darn good setup. We put this trade idea out, I believe. Oh, man, it might have been earlier this month, but we had this one right around 58.78, a nice bid from this monthly 38%, and that would have been a situation where, you come right down to your daily, and what did you have? Really just beautiful stuff off of this top. Boom, right there. That would have been our play back on August 1st, and now that level's coming back into sort of vogue. So if you get an opportunity maybe down there, that's legitimate support. I would be wary of that level. But also if we do check that and then bounce, you may be in a position for to take a long over the intermediate term. A lot of that depends on what happens with the Fed. But right now folks sort of betting on the dollar a little bit towards the end of the week. It's not the best idea in the world given this economic environment. But a trade's a trade. Manage your risk wisely and be aggressive when you have to, and you'll be just fine. Let me see. Let me see, Steve Nui. I'm sleepy from the Manila, Philippines. Good to see you, Steve. Yeah, I'm just getting up and rolling for the day. It's about 11:15, so I've been rocking and rolling for about 5 hours here. I feel pretty good. It's it'll be an interesting afternoon. Definitely watching the news, but yeah, if you're in the Philippines, it's got to be late. It's got to be late. So welcome, though. Truly global community here. We have folks in here from the UK. We've got them in here from South America, over in Asia. We've got them in Australia as well, and then way down under in New Zealand. So welcome. Come one, come all. That's what I say. Sort of the diversity of our traders definitely has been an educational experience for me. I've got an opportunity to talk with a lot of you and learn the ways that you look at the market and when you trade. And it's expanded my horizons from really being a guy that traded WTI crude oil for a couple hours a day into somebody who understood that, yeah, this really is a global game, and there's folks that are making money trading the New Zealand dollar while I'm sleeping. So you definitely are welcome here. Don't really mind where you're from. You can trade. I'm living proof you can trade from anywhere. I'm from small town Montana in the United States, northern region, and nobody in this town really does what I do, but that's okay. That means no matter where you are with internet connectivity, you can trade. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are. If you're a good trader, you can trade, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to just basically get it on and do a little bit of trading. So we covered some of those. We did have some other trade updates here. I do want to cover WTI crude oil, though. This was one that we put out earlier today, and I'm not going to spend much time on it. This was just the FTSE trade from last week. We just adjusted our entry point. I wanted to reissue this because I really like it. Essentially what happened this week, instead of trading down to our key level, we traded up. And now we're sort of on a retracement now, having sort of a negative type of a session. Early next week, I would love something right down in there, right around that 9,000, maybe 9,025 bid. If we do get a correction, and it wouldn't shock me if we did on Monday's open, just because of the Trump-Putin Summit. If we do get that, that's a potential bid. So I'm watching that one closely. I think that could be a pretty darn good one, And that was today's trade idea. We had to adjust our entry point. We ended up adjusting it north by, I believe, about 10 points to account for this week's sort of spike high. All right, we did have a lot of requests on WTI crude oil. Remember, if you're trading at switch markets and you're trading crude oil, you're going to have to look at that WTI CFD. So let's go ahead and take a look at WTI, and then I'll give you a look at U.S. oil on the other chart. But you can see what's sort of developing here on the 1 hour, sort of what I would call just absolute chop. And chop is one of the toughest things to trade in the world. You can see this right here. That's sort of an interesting type of a scenario. That's when the volume returned to the market, probably the first hour on a traditional Wall Street trade of WTI. Remember, when we start trading WTI futures, that really corresponds with the old pit hours in New York City back in the NYMEX when they were trading WTI crude in the pits. And that goes back to about 9 a.m. Eastern. That's when you consistently see volume pick up in the WTI market. So understand that, and then understand that 2:30 p.m. Eastern, that's pretty much when the volume starts drying up for WTI. And we also have sort of a dead spot in the middle of the day. I call it the dead spot, and that's about lunchtime on the East Coast. So that'll be about noon Eastern till about 11:30 Eastern, till 1:30 Eastern, somewhere in there. So you want to be aware of how a trading day typically unfolds. On a day like today, everything is very, very, very tight. And my bread and butter for WTI intraday is always going to be the 30-minute chart. I can see exactly when the volume kicks on, and then you get a nice big move here, and then we just are sort of chopping sideways. So if I was looking to trade this intraday, I don't think that I would. I really don't. Too much going on, guys, with the Russia-Ukraine war right now, Trump, Putin. So much is going to come out of that, and one of the biggest sectors to be influenced is going to be WTI crude oil. It's going to be natural gas. Don't get caught into what I would call not necessarily a bear or bull trap, but just a trap. This market's going to trap a lot of people. It's going to knock out a lot of longs and a lot of shorts before it finally picks a direction. Here's how I would be reading the fundamentals for WTI. If you do get a Russia-Ukraine peace, something that's going to be a lasting peace, maybe a peace deal, potentially a change of regime in the Ukraine, that's what everybody's talking about right now. If that does come to pass, you're probably going to see bearish price action in your energies for quite a while. I would expect WTI to come way off, especially if part of the deal is Russia gets to expand the global energy supply by putting those energies back online to pretty much everybody. Now, if that does happen, we will see the energy prices go down. That's natural gas and crude oil. I think crude oil from here, if that's the case, probably comes off this winter. I'm betting we test 50. That would be my bet. Now, does it happen? God, so much goes into crafting a peace deal. And it's not like it's going to happen today, but the broad strokes will be painted today. So if I was looking at something like WTI, number one intraday, I wouldn't be messing around with it. There's just too much going on right now. But if I wanted to really look at what's happening, the key level for me was always that long-term Fibonacci retracement. We're going to go to the other charts here in just a second, but I would really respect what's happened this month. Big-time sell-off. Okay, we're sort of correcting here, but the price action is really disjointed. This double bottom down here, that would be an area that I'm watching at 55. I believe that if that's taken out, you're going to 50 quickly. If that is taken out, that zone right in there is taken out, you probably have a peace deal. You may have higher interest rates for longer. We're going to talk about that in a minute, although that's becoming less and less probable as we move forward. But right here, you sort of have to favor the bearish side of WTI. Now, on the other hand, if things fall apart today and it turns into a pissing match and Putin and Trump don't get along and there is no deal and you see an escalation, and it really could be a tipping point in this war 3 years in, 3.5 years in, you could see major escalations from both sides if things don't go well. And that's something that nobody wants to see, I don't think. And if that does happen, then WTI goes way up. That's simple. We get into the pattern of, okay, war is going to be here for a while. It's going to get worse. Maybe Russia goes on a full offensive across Ukraine, a ground offensive. A lot of talk about that today. So if you see things like that, you know the sanctions will be huge against a major move like that. And plus, the rate cut expectations, cutting interest rates, that's the case for the bullish side of crude oil. So when we look at our charts and you go, Shane, it's really ugly. I go, it is really ugly because we don't know what's going to happen. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean we can't trade. And, of course, I've been around the block probably too many times with WTI crude oil. But we have a decent approach to how to trade this. And basically, it's very simple. I can put the Fibonacci's on there. We'll put the 920 on there in a second. But what you see here is really a challenge. That's a nice big sell-off back in late June. And since then, we've just sort of been trickling south. So for me, I would probably want to make my mistakes to the short side of the market, meaning I would have a short side bias. I would want to sell. I wouldn't necessarily want to buy. Spike high to a spike low. Pullbacks from 65.25. Yes, please. If we could get those, yes, please. So I would be looking at a short potentially from that zone, in my opinion. And honestly, the charts don't lie. Always remember, we get caught up in, all these different patterns and candles and all the Fibonacci's and moving averages and stochastics. I had a gentleman reach out to me the other day that wanted a VWAP strategy bad, saying, Shane, do the 9 EMA with VWAP. And I go, all right, well, we'll see. We'll see what we can do. But my point is we get so caught up in all this stuff or smart money concepts, and we go, oh, if it's not smart money, I don't like it. But we really lose, sight of forest for the trees. What does this mean? What does this candle formation mean on the week? It's a doji. All right? It is a doji. What does a doji mean? It means that the buyers couldn't win, and it means the sellers couldn't win. And after all this trading, all these contracts, all the buys, all the sells, all the gains, all the losses, where does price go? Settles right back into the center of where it was all week long. That's indecision. That's a product of uncertainty. That's a product of a big-time summit with the power players involved. And the world doesn't know whether to go short or long crude oil. For me to sit here and say that I know, I mean, there's a million other YouTube channels out there, and these folks will go rent Ferraris, and they'll rent private jets, and they'll sit in there and tell you what you want to hear. Nobody in the world knows what's going to happen right now. It's too volatile. We have sides. We think that we know what certain people want, but whether or not any of it comes to fruition, nobody knows. I would want to be bearish here. I would absolutely love to see maybe some sort of action, maybe a little bit of vibration towards the top side before we get to really sell that 65.24 again. I like that level a lot. As far as what this looks like on the 920, let's go ahead out. The U.S. oil, now we don't have to drag and drop. That's my MT4 you do that with, or MT5. Okay, 4-hour U.S. oil. I'm not even remotely interested in the 4-hour time frame on U.S. oil. I'm sorry. The reason why is the volume picks up during the U.S. trading day. This right in here, see the volumes down here? The traded volumes, very hard. And you say, Shane, how do you know the exact volumes on a U.S. oil? And I say, oh, you really don't. You really don't. You just have estimates. But we'll show you the futures contract in a second. But one of these, you can see that business did pick up, and it's right around when? That 9 a.m. Eastern I told you about. And right there, what do you have? Not much, guys. We had a sell during the overnight on that 920. Pretty good sell. Would I be taking that? That was that pre-London Open, and your sell right there, 63, 68. I don't know. I mean, that's risky in my book, especially with the news coming out. But it's worked like a charm. And, if you sold right up there, 63.69, 63.22, I mean, it's been a good trade. It's been a good trade. So that's sort of a look at the 920. Now, what I want to see and what I'm really checking for is maybe a long-term play. Is there anything that gives us anything long-term on the 920? Daily chart, there was a buy. That one failed miserably. Remember, that's one of the rules on this live stream. We don't run from the losers. When we lose, we figure out why. So right there, that would have been your bid. Down here, you would have been stopped out sort of at the bottom of this range. And what do you have? It's ugly. Why did the market turn around on us? August 1st, maybe. We could say end of the month. And there's no question about it, fall seasonality. I mean, I remember talking a lot about it. There was a WTI video that I made on Forex Signals TV a long time ago, professional crude oil trading or whatever. And you've got to know seasonality if you're going to trade commodities. Crude oil seasonality, you get the peak pricing. You get it in the spring months as they price summer travel demand in the northern hemisphere for refined fuels. So you're looking at peak pricing typically in May, June, July. And then after that, you go into fall seasonality. Now, if there's no big market drivers like wars or shortages or anything like that, you typically see bearish price action creeping into WTI crude. Why? Because wintertime travel in the northern hemisphere, the demand for that isn't quite as great as it is in the summer. So you see falling prices, typically growing supplies. It's easy. It's not a hard concept, but if you didn't know that and you weren't aware of that, I mean, there's no question about it. August 1st, the traders came in and started playing for fall seasonality. You say, Shane, how do you know? And I say, well, you're down about 3% there. You open the month where? Right up around 69.43. You're down about $6. That's significant. That's about 10%. Now, are traders happy at this level, being short? Probably. For right now, until you figure out the geopolitics, the geopolitical situation, you got to sort of, well, let's wait. Hey, listen, caution's the better part of valor. Those who rush in typically get eliminated quickly. Let's just wait. Let's wait. Let's let this sort of set up, and we'll be able to make a crude call, a good, solid crude call for you. I'm confident of that. It just may take another week or two. That's sort of the way it is, at least for seasonal predictions. But for right here, there's no guesswork needed there. 65.25, yeah. 65.19, 65.15, maybe even the area between 64, 64.95 to 65.25, probably going to set up to be a pretty good short. And that's likely to be a trade idea probably early next week. It could be pretty tasty. I like that one. Nice 3-day range. Be a tight trade. We'll probably only be looking for 25 or 30 pips on that one, but it could be good. It could be really good. So I'm excited to see what happens there. That's for sure. Samson, good to see you. Samson's from Africa. Let me see. Vikrant, sir, please show today's orb setup. Yeah, let's break down the orb. We had a request for the US 30 from Trading Musk as well. Let me see. Team Marina, Shane, what dietary supplements, if any, do you take to help you sustaining all-day energy? God, I don't want to do a commercial here for supplements. All right, I'll tell you what. Full disclosure, I told you I'd answer. You guys ask me anything you want, I'll answer it. Let's pull up our US 30 chart first. On the orb. Let's go ahead and pull up a US 30 here and see first. Let's go to the orb. My orb setup, which is just raw price action. And then let's go to the US 30. 15-minute chart. Oh, yeah, this is fascinating stuff. Okay, to answer your question, T. All right. So what dietary supplements do you take with your energy sustaining all day? All right. First thing, dietary supplements start with athletic greens first thing in the morning. Try to do that. Also, some performance mushrooms. I don't know that you need the performance mushrooms. A cup of coffee. So the caffeine for me got out of hand for a long time. I was drinking 3 and 4 cups of coffee a day. I cut that way down. 1 cup for some caffeine. That gets you good energy in the morning. And then what you do is you come in with something called methylene blue, which is something that Kennedy's been taking, and that's really become hugely popular here in the United States. So you can look into that. That'll give you pretty good energy all day long. I've seen really incredible results with it. It's better than caffeine because caffeine you get a little scatterbrained if you're trying to stay awake and keep the energy. But that ultra methylene blue is pretty solid, and that's no joke. And I've been trying that for like the last 3 months. The weight loss is really surprising. My endurance in the gym is unbelievable. And then after that, you just got to make sure you space out your meals. And one thing that is an absolute energy killer, you got to eat your protein. You got to get your protein and your carbs Just keep them, simple carbs, or excuse me, whichever is best, complex carbs. So I'm looking at like oatmeal, sweet potatoes, things like that. Those really give you great long-lasting energy. Black lentils are great. And then also with your proteins, the biggest thing that can kill your energy is if you take a big amount of fat. So fat's good. You got to have a lot of fats in your diet. I mean, I'm not saying don't eat fats. I eat tons of meat and eggs and things. But I noticed, like, when I was eating, like a big 4 or 5 egg omelet in the morning, man, I would just I would get so sluggish. And so sort of made the transition to egg whites and cut down on the eggs a little bit, but you still need the yolks for the good cholesterol. So that would be the recipe for energy. The biggest thing you got to watch with energy is if you're drinking a lot of sugar and soda, that stuff can really get you. That can really get you. And also the caffeine. The caffeine, I built up such an incredible tolerance to it that, I mean, I could sit there and drink a pot of coffee, and I was like, I don't feel anything. We're talking stiff coffee, like Kona coffee or this bulletproof coffee I get. That's pretty good stuff too, but it's really stiff. And so, I'm taking the 1,000 milligrams or whatever it was amounted to. It's way too much. Right there, Ralph H., Red Bull and Monsters. Hey, listen, if Red Bull works for you, go get a Monsters. I used to drink Monsters before I'd work out. I liked it, but it doesn't work for me trading-wise, and I get the big crash now. Like I said, I'm in my mid-40s. I get the big crash, so things got to be dialed in really perfect to be able to keep your energy up. And there's other things you can take that are just sort of male supplements. The ashwagandha root, you could be looking at boron. That's another one. You could be looking at all sorts. There's got all sorts of vitality supplements out there. Let me see. T. Marina, 3 to 4 cups is too much. Tina Jing, I take creatine. Yes, 10 grams of creatine in the morning for me too as well. They've done studies that if you hit your brain after a night of no sleep with like 20 grams of creatine, it does unbelievable things for your mind. So creatine, absolutely, Tina. You're absolutely right. You can't beat creatine for a long-term energy burn as well. All right, let's get back to trading, though. That's enough talk of supplements. And there's some other supplements you can take that are pretty good for like physical recovery and things. But Red Bull. Let me see, Alan, double espresso. Laugh out loud. Have you tried Lion's Mane? Yes, I've tried Lion's Mane, Alan. Yep, absolutely. It's in one of my supplements in there. Some of the vitality stuff that as you get older, a lot of the herbal supplements you really find work. They really work, and you don't get the big crash either. That's for sure. I've got a high tolerance for coffee. Absolutely, T. Marina, just trying to adjust. The creatine's a good one. That's for sure. All right, guys, let me see. Let's get back to trading here. We've got a couple of questions. Ian, hi, Shane. What do you think of gold? I caught selling to gold today, closed for 50 pips. That's great, Ian. We're going to we'll go US 30. We'll go US 30 orb and then gold, and then we'll call it and see if we've got any big news arrangements. Let me see. Absolutely trading Musk. Okay, here we go. 15-minute orb. This is a pretty good strategy. It's really growing on me. We put out a video a couple weeks, I guess 2 Tuesdays ago, on how to improve your orb entries. I really like that one as a potential supplement to just the basic orb. The 15-minute orb right here. What do you have right here? 7:30 is my time. So remember, these are mountain time zones, so think add 2 hours and it's Eastern, or you can just convert to GMT, whatever works best. But right there, first 15 minutes of the session, you're looking at the first 15, second 15. So the first 30 minutes, that's your range. And then you get the big break, and you trade down, and then we're back up into that range. I don't like reverse engineering anything. If you're going to play the orb strategy, you play the orb strategy. This is a challenging day to trade orbs because of that. Because of that summit. Nobody knows really what to do with the broader news cycle just yet, and that's a key reason why we probably are looking at a switch. It's always a switch markets day, but a choppy day, a whipsaw day. And if you do get into a situation like that, then orbs are just the kiss of death. You got to be in a position where we could really break. We loved that S&P 500 orb earlier this week. And the reason why was we got the big rally, and we thought we may get a correction off of that CPI, and we got it, which was great. Today and yesterday have not been that great. They've been sort of flat. We're very much in the dog days of summer. Now, I'm not making excuses for the strategy. I'm really not. There was ways that you could have executed this one and won. You could have said, okay, if you're playing a real tight scalp and there was your stop loss, you got enough of a move to get a 1-to-1. However, if you're playing with your stop loss up here, and some of you may be short still, that's probably where your stop loss is going to be, 45, probably right up above 45.2 somewhere. And now you're rotating back up to 40, 45. So you're back in that range. You're probably taking a draw. To answer your question, Vikrash, your entry bar on the orb is going to be the first bar that closes outside of that range. So there's our basic 2-bar orb. First bar, second bar, that's our orb range. There's your break. That's going to be your short right there. So you're short from there. You're taking a draw. You're short from 44,979. You got a bit of a run here. Very difficult. If your stop loss was tight, if you're playing that trigger bar as your stop, you may have got enough to get paid down there, but we just didn't get much of a move. We saw the market break, and now it's rotating back into that first half hour. I'm afraid without any sort of market driver, maybe some news breaks out of Russia out of Alaska about that summit, then maybe you get a big sell-off, but I'm not feeling it. I'm really not. But that's hindsight now. We've already seen price action. Take a look at this. Something like this is a way that you can mitigate getting chopped up in really flat markets, especially with the orb. And one of the things that I stressed in that video that we put out on how to trade, you'd probably be looking at 62 and 78. We're trading Fibonacci retracement levels that are inside of the orb. I don't trade 50. That's just old hat for me. But you could do something like this from 62 or 78% and look to take that sell there, and that still respects this as being a potential resistance zone. Now, all that being said, what else can you do? I also pointed out a different way to trade the orb, and that was going to be the 50% rule, which is easier, and it can definitely be a good way to swing risk-reward in your favor. And this is easy. You just take a look at your 2-bar orb and divide that thing roughly in half, and that would be your entry point. You'd wait for a 50% retracement back into the orb. That way you can trade the risk versus rewards really any way you wanted. Something like this would still be your stop loss. So you could see that if you did enter right there, that would be sort of your risk. So your 1-to-1 would be right here, say, and then maybe your 1-to-2 would be down on daily lows. Much safer, much more conservative. Not necessarily better, though, because we're going to miss a lot of those breakouts trading that way. You've just got to decide which way you want to trade. That's for sure. Some of the time it is getting more stop losses. Yeah, I mean, it's just rotating back up into our range, Vikrant. It's hard. It's hard, especially on a day like today that's choppy. We didn't get the clean break, and that's a challenge. Let's see. We did have a question, though, about the US 30. I'll go ahead and give you my breakdown of it right here, just using my own approach. And this is the Fibonacci counterpunch with all of what I like to use. We have really knocked the US 30 dead. Knock them dead, kid. We've scalped in front of 45,000. We did it successfully several times. I'm really happy with that level and what's happened. But, all good things must come to an end. And it looks to me like we're in the middle of knocking 45 out of the box. If you get a peace deal, that's exactly what's going to happen. So my game plan is going to be very simple for next week. We're going to see how things unfold today with the summit. But something like this, spike low here, probably working off of today's high unless we push higher. This is an interesting area, interesting zone. Probably I'm going to be pullback buys, in my opinion. I would love to see this sort of get extended. I would love to see this maybe rally up here in the next few days, potentially, so we could get maybe an opportunity to bid right in above 45,000. That's fantastic. I would love that. I would be there with bells on. Let me see. Alan. I have some lion's mane to it. It's great. Yeah, it really is. Lion's mane really complements the ashwagandha. Also shilajit. I don't know if any of you have ever taken any shilajit. It's a nice natural supplement. They've got some great shilajit. It's pronounced or spelled shilajit, but it's you pronounce shilajit, but it's spelled shilajit. That's another good one. That's really hey, listen. I'm pretty skeptical when it comes to supplements, but there's some of them out there that really work. That methylene blue is really something. Gives you a lot of energy. And also, like Tina said, the creatine, just real basic stuff. Creatine's been around forever, but it really does something for your brain. And your muscle recovery, you kind of got to have creatine if you're interested in training harder. If you work hard, it a real manual labor job, and I did that for years. I was a home builder. I was in the trenches, and I took supplements then too, even as a young man. So yeah, it's pretty good stuff, man. They got a lot of good stuff out there that can help you enhance your performance cognitively and physically. That's for sure. All right, guys, I think that's going to be about it for today. I said we were going to cover retail sales. I mean, I guess I could go over them real quick. Yeah, I might as well. I drew up the slides. We might as well do it. Let's see. Vikrant, sir, can you make one video on higher time frame analysis for the orb and tell where we should have to keep our targets and where we should have to avoid the trade? Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea. Maybe some troubleshooting tips for the orb, times not to trade the orb. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. If you guys have any other ideas for videos, just head on over to How to Trade. Hit me up in the private messages and just send me your idea, and I'll take it under advisement. We're sort of a limited team right now. Over the last few years, some of you that have followed us, we were a much bigger team at one point, and now we're sort of a streamlined team at this point. So I'll do my best getting the videos out. If we have time, we can get them. We got that one on MT5 dropping tomorrow, though, on the Switch Markets channel, that short. So be sure to check that out. And then we're going to have one coming out on uranium trading maybe for next week. If you guys are interested in maybe a commodity you haven't heard much about, uranium, we made one on that just because it seemed to be sort of timely. All right, let's go ahead and let's cover retail sales. I'm running long again. I've run long all week. It's just been a big week. Let's see. Today was U.S. retail sales. That's the big thing. The biggest reason why we would cover retail sales is it's a sort of a leading indicator. It suggests consumption or lagging consumption. So if you see retail sales numbers really start to tank, it means that the public is sort of putting their money away and they're not spending quite as much as they were. That typically is a driver of lower consumption. And when you see lower consumption, what does that mean? Lagging consumer confidence, and those are the underpinnings for an economic contraction. Maybe not a recession, but maybe an economic contraction. So right here, core retail sales came in as expected, but down big from an upwardly revised number that came in last month. And then also you could see the retail sales figure right down here, sort of our top line, our headline retail sales, 0.5%. That was beneath 0.6 expected and about half of what we saw back in June. So not necessarily the best report. You can see retail sales increased by 0.5 month over month, in line with market expectations following an upwardly revised 9% or 0.9% rise in June. The largest increases were seen in the sales at motor vehicle and parts dealers. Man, I don't know who's buying trucks out there in the States right now. They're like 80 grand. I mean, they're just incredibly expensive. But parts dealers, maybe everybody's getting their old trucks fixed and their old cars fixed at the parts. You got to get the right parts, keep them on the road. And then right here, you can see our chart. Really shows we had a dismal spring. I mean, a big March right there, but April and May were not good. This was upwardly revised for June, so it looks a little better. And then July, still positive, but not as great as the last month. So what does all that mean? Well, it means that potentially that could be a warning sign to some for an economic pullback. This is the other story that's hitting. Who will Trump pick for Fed chair? Hear from the candidates in their own words. They got a video here. Some of the folks that are supposedly in line for this are incredibly eccentric. They're eccentric folks, and I'll tell you what, every single one of them is calling for big rate cuts, not just a quarter point. They're talking about slashing interest rates down to nothing. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, in one respect, you're going to kickstart business and commerce. In the other respect, you're going to destroy savers. So I really don't know what to say about any of that. We're just going to play that by ear as we move forward. Let me see, Alan. Yeah, you can't ignore the noticeable differences. I'll tell you what, when you guys are looking for supplements or you're looking for anything, try it for a while. You got to give it time. You can't just take it one day and say, I didn't feel very well. You got to take it, whatever it may be, for a couple of months or a month or two, and then just judge it. And if you see the results, if you start to see the results or you feel better, which honestly, I hate to seem like sort of give away my age or anything, but you get far enough along in life, just feeling good's good enough. So if you get out of bed and you feel pretty good and you're excited and you're ready to face the day and take on the challenges, and a lot of that you can link right to your nutrition and your supplements, then that's fine. And I know for some guys, it's just pints of beer. Some folks say their greatest supplement's having a few pints and getting some sleep. That could be too. I don't know. To each his own. Everybody's different. That's for sure. It just depends on who you are and what you want to get accomplished. That's all there is to it. But man, the coffee for me was a bear. T. Marina says four a day is not that bad. Coffee for me was a bad one, and I finally I cut it down. 1 cup a day. It's in a French press though, so it's probably a little stronger than most. But 1 cup a day for me, that's it. Sometimes 2, but never 3 or 4 anymore. And I got to stay off the Red Bull and the Monsters. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for right now. I'm going to go ahead and get going on the weekend. Got a few other things to do. We did drop the trade idea earlier. If you have any questions at all, be sure to swing by the How to Trade trading room just to sign up for a free account. Hit my picture, send me a message at the top of the screen. I'll be more than happy to get back to you and answer any questions that you may have. Let me see, SF, why don't I see the chat? I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. We are going to be having a new look here on these live streams next week. Probably not next week, but maybe the week after. We're building some new things so we can have more of a sleek presentation. I realize that this isn't the most modern presentation in the world, but we're trying to deliver pretty good content. And we've had last week was a pretty good trading week for many. For some, it was tough. You just got to stick with it and keep going. Remember, the best trading of this year is going to be coming up after Labor Day. So when we get probably late September, that's really what I'm looking forward to. All right, everybody, have a fantastic trading day. Finish up strong. All eyes on that news feed. It's all about Trump and Putin in Alaska. That's a fact. And watch these markets. We'll see exactly how this boils down and what happens. We've got a lot of really great potential trades for next week, though. I can already see 4 of them that I really like. And if you have any questions at all, be sure to reach out. All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for right now. You have a fantastic trading day. Finish up strong. One eye on the news, one eye on your charts. Have a great weekend. There's nothing wrong with getting away from the markets for a few days. We're going to be back here firing guns a-blazing on Monday. You guys have a fantastic weekend. Trade the action well, and we'll talk soon. See ya.